Grand Rising, and thank you all for joining us on this edition of The Female Solution. We'll be starting in just a moment. And Grand Rising to our host today, Zhana. We're live on Facebook, and we'll be starting in just a moment. And Grand Rising to our guest, Mercy. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be starting in just one moment.
Women have transformed this world. We can end crime and agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talent, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. The Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, ni hao. In India, namaste. In Japan, konnichiwa. In Korea, annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, здравствуйте. In Germany, in Poland, dzień dobry. In France, bonjour. In Spain, hola. In Italy, ciao. In Egypt, ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, akwaba. In Nigeria, paleo. In South Africa, sawubona. In Senegal, mangadet. In Kenya, jambo. In Israel, shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
Well, Grand Rising to all of you joining us today on the Female Solution radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and our host today, Zhana, is joining us live from London with a fantastic guest. And we've got some more of our sisters of the microphone who would like to welcome our wonderful guest, Mercy McKinday.
Yes, you got that right.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. And
it's a pleasure.
We are so excited to have this conversation because it is a global issue, and you have dealt with escaping from domestic violence.
Come on.
And so, Zhana, we can hear you now, of course. if you'd like to put up an image, Zhana, we certainly would love seeing your wonderful face, or even a symbol of your face, as we join the rest of our global audience in exposing and talking about that underlying thing that affects so many families, and that is domestic violence. So, Zhana, we're going to give you an opportunity to take it away and introduce our guest, and then we're going to hear more about the amazing Amazon Woman, the organization founded by our guest today. Zhana, go right ahead. Zhana, are you, check your mute? I think Zhana may be having some technical difficulties. Well, we're going to also bring in our Monday host to participate in this discussion, because it's one that touches all of our hearts. And we certainly don't want to minimize the condition for anybody who may be going through this and may be too ashamed to talk about it. And often that is the case. So now, our guest today is a woman of many talents, one of which is great resilience when it comes to surviving something that so many are trapped in and don't know how to survive. So, in your own words, Sister Mercy, tell us your story. What happened? Understand, at the age of 17, you were married to a man who was older than your.
Hi, everyone.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. How did that happen? First of all, your roots, are you from Nigeria?
Yes, yes. I was just in my first year in university, and my dad asked me to come home. But it was
Hi,
very
evening,
urgent to come
everyone.
home.
Yes, Zhana, we can hear you now. And so,
Grand rising, if it's morning where you are.
Yes,
hi,
morning.
everyone.
It's morning here in the States. I know it's a
welcome.
Afternoon.
Thank you, Zhana.
Sorry?
Yes, so it's afternoon here in the States, but it's evening there in London, and so, but of course the sun rises wherever you are. So
exactly.
Oh, excellent.
So now Mercy was just telling us how this came to be, that she was married at 17 to a man older than her husband. So continue, my sister, and I'm going to bring in another sister to, yes, Zelda, joining us today. We're listening to the story, and I'm sure you'll find it fascinating. A young woman in the midst of beginning her career, suddenly. So tell us, Mercy, what happened?
Okay, can you all hear me clearly, though? Can you all hear me?
Yes, yeah, we hear you. Yeah, we hear you wonderfully.
Okay,
yes.
All right. So it was my first year in the uni, and I think I'd only done a semester. So I got this call from my dad that I needed to come home. And remember, those days there weren't cell phones, so I had to go to like a business center to call, and then he had left a message, through the people.
Can I just say hi?
Oh, absolutely. Hi. Yes, we hear you. We hear you fine. Now, Zhana, you have a little bit of feedback. You may need to mute for a moment because we're getting a bit of feedback from your mic. And then just unmute when you get ready to speak. Okay?
Okay, cool. I just want to say welcome, Mercy.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
All right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think she's having a little bit of technical issues.
Yeah, because I can barely hear her.
Yes. But just
And
hold
then
on,
you were
Zhana.
saying you were at uni?
Yes, but if we have any problems, I can always connect you through my end. So just hold on. So we're gonna hear Mercy's story, and then we'll come back and see how your sound is. If we need to do another connection, that's no problem. But go ahead, Mercy. So you were telling us you were just called from your father at the university.
Yeah, so I was asked to come home, and then I came home.
Sure.
And then the day I arrived, this elderly man came to the house. He came with food. I've never seen him in my life, but it looked like every other member of my family knew him. So my siblings were like, welcome, uncle, welcome, uncle. And my dad, like a huge celebration, like a welcome home for your queen. I'm wondering what's going on. Anyway, we had dinner, and then the guy tried to, cozy up,
Yes, we can
trying
hear
to
you.
come up to me, trying to be unnecessarily friendly. And those are things that my dad would never allow, even with a younger pair. And everybody just turned a blind eye and like, go ahead, have time, spend time with him. So, but then I was young. I mean, the 17-year-old back in 1993 is not the same as the 1995 rather. It's not the same as the 17-year-old now. I mean, girls 17 now, I see them and I'm wondering how come they are so smart. I wish I was this smart when I was 17. Anyways, I was so naive and I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure out what was happening. And after the man left, my dad told me I was going to get
Okay,
married
if I
in
mute,
2 weeks.
what I can do is I can phone up blog talk again that way.
Yeah, just calling on the
Okay, I'm trying to mute. I'm gonna mute for a minute.
yes, okay.
So my dad tells me I'm going to get married to him in 2 weeks. And I just sat down there looking at him. I'm like, okay, if you say so.
Really?
I didn't argue. I
Okay,
didn't
we seem to be frozen now.
protest. I didn't put up
I
a
don't know about
protest.
you guys, but I'm frozen now.
Wow.
Yes. So
Can I go on?
Yes, you can go on now. We're gonna.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just sat down there. I said, okay, fine. And really, in 2 weeks, a big wedding was done, and I was married.
Wow.
And 1 month after the wedding, everything seemed nice. I mean, it felt good to be Mrs. Somebody, and then I had domestic staff, people calling me madam, madam, madam. So I something that you weren't expecting in your lifetime that was going to ever happen to you. So it was exciting to see all of those kind of things. I was like, okay, all right. And then 1 month after the wedding, reality set in. We went out and I got up to use the bathroom. I came back and he said I took too long. That why did I stand up to go to the bathroom? And I didn't even take permission from him. And in my innocence and naivety, I just said to him, oh, sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to take permission from you. And I actually really meant it. Because I mean, I haven't been married before, so I don't know married people have to take permission to go to the bathroom. So I just said, oh, sorry, I didn't know I was supposed to take permission from you. And he thought it was sarcasm. He thought I was being sarcastic, which I wasn't. I didn't even know how to be sarcastic. And he just said, you know what, let's leave. So we left the function, we went home, and I was just opening the door to get into the house. He started beating me right there at the door. And that's how the battery started. That was barely a month after our wedding. We got married July 29th, and this was August 20th, It wasn't even quite a month yet. And that is how my episodes of battery started. Before I knew anything, I was pregnant for my first son, and he would beat me and throw me down the staircase. I would roll down several steps and fall to the ground floor. He would throw me out. I would sleep out of the house in the grass and the lawn where mosquitoes will bite me. This is Africa. We have mosquitoes that give malaria. He will do all sorts, and I'll end up in hospital. I'll be treated. I'll come back home. The doctors will even call him aside and try to advise him. And he will tell them, just straight out, mind your business. It's my family problem. You don't have to interfere and all that. And this kept going on even while I was pregnant. And towards the last trimester of my pregnancy, the battery was really, really bad. That I remember one day I had to run out of the house, no shoes, no money. And I just started trekking, started walking the streets. And, then there were no cell phones. I'm talking about 1995, 96, no cell phones. And eventually, in Africa at least, maybe in the US, yes, but in Africa, I hadn't come then. And then I ended up going to one of his cousins, distant cousins' home. I didn't even know if they were actually like related, because every woman I used to see with him were sister. And eventually he was actually sleeping with some of them then. But because I was really young, I didn't know these things. It was much later I realized that they were not even related in any way. So one of those women, I went to her house and she, took care of me, took me to the hospital. I was treated. And then she didn't have a phone. So she had to take me back home a day later. And by then he had gone to my dad's house. My dad was looking for me. Now, by the way, my mom died while I was 8, when I was 8 years old. So I didn't have a mom in all of this. I didn't have a mom. So it was
Wow.
just my dad. Yeah. So can I go on?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yes. She was saying you were very isolated. Yes. Yes. So go on. Yes, you were saying you were very
Okay.
isolated. Yes.
All right. So I came back from that one, and not too long before I had that baby, he beat me so bad that I even thought I was going to lose the child. But eventually, I had the baby successfully, and the baby was okay. I was fine. And after that, it just keeps going on. And then, the annoying thing is that in Africa, people ask you, "What did you do that he will hit you?" And I always tell them there's no reason. I mean, back then, I didn't know. I mean, I was 18, 19, 20. I didn't know. So I will always just try to figure out what I was doing. And then you see me walking on eggshells, always living in fear, because I don't know the next thing I will do that will result in beating. I remember when I had the second baby, because I had two boys with him, I had just come back from the hospital. And then when I came home, he had a bottled water in the fridge. Back then in Africa, bottled water was not a thing. So the main way to have your drinking water was to get water from the tap, boil it. Sometimes some people filter it and then put it in bottles or jugs or jars and store them in the fridge for drinking. So bottled water was not a big thing then. It was not very common then. So you had a few bottles of water in the fridge, like Evian water or whatever brand of water you drink in the US. I think it's Evian, the most popular brand in the US. So you had something like that in the fridge. And I had just come back from the hospital with a brand newborn baby. And I went to the fridge, I took that bottle of water and I drank. And then when he came to check the water, he found out that one was missing. And he asked, "Who drank my water?" And then somebody mentioned that, "Oh, I drank the water." And he came and slapped me with the baby in my hand. I was breastfeeding. And he hit me and hit the baby I was breastfeeding. And that was just the height for me. I said, "No, I'm not going to take this." So I took the child and I walked from his house to my father's house. And when I got to my dad's, I said, "I'm not going to continue with this marriage. How would he hit me just because of water?" That was my pain. Because in every other case, I used to feel like, okay, maybe I was actually wrong. Maybe it was actually my fault. Maybe there was something I was doing wrong, or maybe something I could do right or do better. But with this water situation, with this particular case, I just knew, no, this is just organic behavior. This is in him. There's nothing I can do to change this. That was when the reality started setting in, that this is not about you, Mercy. This is about this guy. He can't control himself. And that was when I decided this is enough. So I just went to my dad's house and I was there for like 2 days. My dad took us to the police station. And of course, back then in Africa, and even till now, in some areas, when you go and report domestic violence, they'll tell you, "Oh, go back home, is a family issue." So that was what happened to me then. He just said, "You know what, go back home, is a family issue. You to calm down. Maybe your mouth is too sharp. Maybe you're too disrespectful. That's why he's hitting you. So go home and behave yourself and be a good girl so that he won't hit you anymore." And that was how the police sent me back home.
My blood is boiling right now. I'm trying to contain myself. I'm getting so enraged.
So that was how, I mean, I had to endure the physical, the emotional, the sexual violence for 11 whole years.
11 years.
Because even at some points, when my dad would get involved, he just finds a way to sweet talk my dad, and my dad will come back and blame me. "You know what? I've spoken to your husband, and he's telling me you're stubborn, you don't listen, just try and be obedient, be submissive, and everything will be fine." And then he will go back. Even sometimes when he sees the injury Like when he really batters me and I have bloodshot eyes, scars on my face, he will pull out my braids, My dad will be mad, he'll be angry. But when my dad comes to confront him and say, "Why did you do this to my daughter?" He'll say, "Let's go and have a drink. Let's go and talk like men." And then they go out, have a drink, and then my dad comes back and then blames me and say, "You okay? I've discussed with your husband. He says you're the problem. You're not submissive and all that." So that's how I had to live my life for 11 years, because my dad at some point even told me categorically that we don't have any divorcee in our family. So you won't be the first. So you can't leave this marriage. You have to stay there because there's no divorcee in our family history, and you won't be the first. So I had to stay till I turned 30. I was 29 actually, just going on 30, because I told myself I won't stay here. I can't continue like this. I won't live the rest of my life like this. So I gave myself the 30, my 30 years as my cutoff line. Like I'm not going to 30 years old. I won't be 30 years old here in this situation. I just kept telling myself. And when I turned 29 and a few months, I left. And I just decided I was going to leave. I knew I was going to take my kids, but I also had to wait for the kids to grow so that they can survive in my absence, because I knew he wouldn't let me take the kids immediately. I needed to get to a level where I would be able to fight, for my kids, and I'll be able to take care of them if I eventually have them. So I ensured that I went to university in his home, even though it was a struggle. It was 4 bitter years of trying to get a degree in his house. He did everything under the sun to frustrate me, including coming to my school, the University of Lagos, every time to embarrass me. But I stuck to my guns. I was going to get that degree, and I got it. And when I got my first job, I hadn't even earned the first salary. I got the job on the 2nd of October, and on the 19th, before the month ended, before I earned the first pay, I left. And then I started my life all over again. I got my 2 kids from him much later. I remarried, got married to my best friend, had 2 more boys. So I have 4 boys altogether. And I can't be even more grateful to God for seeing me through all of that time, because I could have died. I mean, I've seen women who die from one slap or one punch, but I had several. I mean, that's why even now I'm still claustrophobic. Like I can't really stay in a house where there's too many furniture, because that was usually the weapon for my assault. So when I'm seeing too many verses or too many furniture, if the house is too cramped, I feel very uncomfortable, because when he was hitting me, those back in the day, anything in the house, that's what he's going to use on me, from dining chair to decor pieces.
Wow.
Anything, that's what he's going to use. So I'm really very, I have this phobia for clustered environments, and it has still not left me. It's part of the trauma I'm dealing with, even after several years of exiting that traumatic situation. So I'm grateful to God that today I can say I have peace, I'm happy, and I'm living a fulfilled life. So that's basically my story. Yeah.
Well done.
Yes. Well, we yes. Can you hear her?
I can barely hear her. It's really not clear from her end, but I hear you very well, though.
Yeah, we might have to find another way to amplify your sound, Zhana. But we've got another.
Okay.
We've got a. Yes.
Did you know this man before you married him?
She said she had never met him before.
You never met him before. So did your father know him before he married you off to this guy?
Yes. Did your father know him?
Yeah. So the national airline for our country is called Nigerian Airways. So my dad used to work for Nigerian Airways, and he was a pilot in Nigerian Airways. So I guess my dad knew him from work, and they just started the relationship the period I was away, because before then I hadn't met him. So it was after I came back when my dad said, "Oh, come home," and I came back, and he came to the house, and I realized he was familiar with everyone in the house except me. So it's most likely that while I was away, they had started the friendship, and then had met everybody. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, We have with us today Dr. Debbie Green, who is joining us as one who counsels those who are in these difficult situations. Want to welcome to our show our Thursday morning host, Dr. Debbie Green.
Hello. Greetings.
Well, you heard this story. I mean, I'm sitting here, my blood is boiling.
Hello.
Zhana is here live from London on the live line here.
Yes.
I'm so angry. Let me calm down. I have a question. And we've got some callers on the line. If you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325. We'll be taking a short break, a commercial break at the next 4 minutes. And if you're on our switchboard, press 1 if you have questions for our guest or host. But now I have a question that always pops in my mind when I meet somebody who has survived domestic violence and has children. How can you be sexually intimate with someone who is physically abusive? Does one make oneself do it? How do you even get into the mood to do that? Does it feel like love, or does it feel like rape? I mean, I'm just, that's just such a conflicting kind of relationship. One, I'm making love to you, and then I'm hitting you. So how does one go through that? I mean, I know that's kind of it's a personal question, but I can't wrap my mind around it. So
that's a very brilliant question, actually. And most people don't even get to ask that question because they feel like there's no connection. But actually, it is very, very connected and I still suffer it now because till date, I still don't enjoy sex because it was introduced to me by someone who was abusive. So you can imagine it's a very serious and delicate issue. That even when I'm remarried to someone I'm over the moon about, when it comes to that aspect, I'm still very laid back. I'm still sometimes it feels like a chore and he has to work extra hard to get me there. So you can imagine when I was with my abuser, it wasn't fun at all. It wasn't nice. And for me, I would say that was what really triggered my making up my mind to leave, even when the whole world was against me. Family, friends, church, the government, the police, the whole system, the whole society. I didn't have any backing from anywhere. So making up my mind to leave was very difficult. But the sexual aspect of it was what gave me that determination. Because even when he touches me, I'm irritated. I couldn't stand him. And then imagine him coming on me. It was like rape for me. I felt like I was being violated. And at a point, I couldn't hold it back. I had to tell him. Because every time he would tell me, I'm older and I'm even more sexually active. You are younger and you're not active. What's wrong with you? And I told him one day, I said, sex is not a thing of the body. It's a thing of the mind. And he said, shut up. Prostitutes have sex with people they don't even know. And you're telling me because you're not into it. Go and bring your mind from wherever your mind is. Those were his exact words to me. He said, go and bring your mind from wherever the mind is, because prostitutes have sex with people they don't even know. So what are you telling me? And then imagine it's when he even hits me that he insists on making love to me while I'm in tears, while I'm bleeding, while I have scars and bruises. So I don't even know how, and that's why as much as I work with women, I counsel women, I talk to women about everything, I don't talk to them about sex. Because I know I'm one person that's not qualified to talk about it, because that's not my department. I'm not even good I'm not good with it. And that's the trauma I've had to deal with, even after leaving the abusive relationship many years down the line. So that's it's a key issue, actually.
Oh, wow. Well, that's overwhelming.
I wanted to speak a bit about Bitchy Electrica. I don't know if people on the call have heard of her, but she was my teacher at university. And she was Nigerian. She was from Igbo, and she came to live in London. When she came to London, she had 2 children at the time, and then she had another 3 more children with her husband. And he was abusive. She wrote more than 20 books. Right? She's a novelist.
And what was her name?
More than 20 books. And the first book she wrote, well, first let me say her English was her 5th language, right? Right, so she wrote more than 20 books in English, which is her fifth language. And the first book that she ever wrote, her husband destroyed. He destroyed a book.
Wow.
I mean, physically actually destroyed the book. So I just want to mention that to say that, there's some context to this for me. I know that you're not the only one, because there is some context there for me. And I'm wondering, do you think that domestic violence is worse in Nigeria, or do you think it's worse in Britain, or do you think it's about the same?
Yeah. Well, before you answer that question, because I know that can get involved, we got to take a break. But we're going to think about that. Is there a place where domestic violence is worse because it's culturally supportive, or does it really matter?
Yes, and also to do with the law as well.
Yes, the laws.
I know that Bridget was told that she was too troublesome, right? People used to tell her she was too troublesome. That's why she had so many troubles. And
not submissive enough.
This is clearly a cultural thing.
Right.
I think this is what I was going to ask. Are there cultural or laws that make domestic violence more of a problem somewhere like Nigeria than it is in a Western country like the UK? Right. So we're having a break now.
Right. We're going to take a break. I'll run the commercials, Zhana, and we'll be right back after this quick break. If you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325. If you're on our switchboard now and you have questions for our guest, pardon me, Mercy Makinde, who is the founder of the Nigerian charity Amazing Amazon Women. And this is an organization that she founded after surviving domestic violence, and it's designed to help other women do the same. So we will be right back.
I just want to say, I put the wrong name. It's not actually Amazing Amazon Women. It's Amazing Amazon Initiative.
Oh, initiatives. Okay, well, we'll correct that.
Yeah, sorry, that's my fault.
All right.
Amazing Amazon Initiative, which Mercy founded.
Okay, well, let me make those corrections as we go to break. So we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Right. Are you constantly arguing with your spouse? Are your children misbehaving, acting out? Let us help you restore serenity to your life. At Serenity Family Social Services, we understand that good mental health is the result of emotional well-being. Our goal is to assist you and your family in removing emotional distress and restoring harmony and balance to your lives. We offer individual, couples, and family counseling. I'm Howard Williams, CEO of Serenity Family Social Services. Call us today at 312-315-4848. Everything you need, what your body needs, is found in nature. So Zhana Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Zhana Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Zhana Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Zhana Essentials help you take control of your health today. Hi, this is John Alexander. And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/TheMediaConnectionTV. YouTube it. We'll see you soon. There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their stories to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch the Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on cable TV channel 19 in Chicago and other cities at your local cable station. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? Partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
And we are back. You are listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, executive producer. Our host today is Zhana, joining us live from London. And we've got a fantastic guest today, Mercy Makinde, founder of the amazing Amazon Initiatives. And this is an organization that helps women who need to escape domestic violence. Now, our host, Zhana, asked a very interesting question before the break, and that is, do you think that domestic violence is perhaps worse in Nigeria, where the culture still seems to support it, and maybe the laws may tend to support it? Is it possibly worse in America, where there seems to be a culture of violence in general? I mean, so many people have guns, and so many people get shot to death by their spouses. Is it worse in London? And is it something that's more common because it's maybe not talked about, because it's socially unacceptable to talk about? So I don't know. Mercy, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I usually like to work with statistics, and the WHO arm of the United Nations has given us the statistics that 1 out of 3 women, that is 35% of women worldwide, experience intimate partner violence. Yes, and then globally, about 38% of these women, this crime is committed by husbands. Now, in Russia, we have the statistics that about 12,000 women die every year because of domestic violence. In Pakistan, we have 80% of women dying every year from domestic violence. In Bangladesh, we have 50%. And in the United States, we have at least 1.8 million women being assaulted every single year from their intimate partners. In the UK, we have 25% of women going through domestic violence. Now, sad to say, in Nigeria, however, we do not have any statistics. However, we believe that these numbers are as bad as Bangladesh or as bad as the United States because of the stigmatization that's, clouds this particular issue. It's a very sensitive issue. Apart from stigmatization, because of the culture, the patriarchal system that says that when a woman is married, the man owns you, the man has bought you, you're his property, and you're expected to do whatever he says. Now, religion, again, also plays a role. Religion has not made it even better, because in both Islam and Christianity, which is the 2 major religions in that country, it teaches that women should be submissive and they are the property of the man. So when you look at this, all of this criteria, religion, culture, non-availability of adequate statistics, it shows that yes, this thing can be as bad as other places in the world, and we see it happen every day. So when the UN says that is 1 out of 3, probably in Africa or in Nigeria, it could be maybe 1 out of 6 or 7.
Wow.
Yes.
So that really tells us we have work to do in raising the next generation of men.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Taught differently.
Yeah, and you also mentioned something about laws. You talked about the laws. Interestingly, I don't know if it's going to shock you, but the first time I heard about it, it actually shocked me. In one of the Nigerian laws, under Section 55 of the Penal Code, it states that the husband is permitted to use physical means to chastise his wife as long as it does not cause too much grievous harm.
Now
grievous harm is defined as loss of sight, loss of hearing, disfiguring of the face, or life-threatening injuries. So if it is not any of this, then it is very okay for a man to chastise his wife in Nigeria, according to the Penal Code, Section 55.
And that's in and what year was that made into law?
No. Yeah, it's just there, but it is applied in both principle and practice. And that is why in most states in Nigeria, you can't take a case of domestic violence to any government arm. Nobody would treat it. Nobody would respond. Just a few states, maybe in Abuja, Lagos State, and maybe 2 other states out of 36 states.
Yes.
That we have. So,
I mean, that's also an understanding that is had in Islam, that a man can chastise his wife.
Yes.
He doesn't beat her lightly. And now we have a co-host on my show on Wednesday, Kareem Hamid, who has said that particular verse is wrongly interpreted. It doesn't mean that you can hit your wife, but of course,
physically.
That's already the thought. If that's already the culture, if that's already accepted, then of course that's how it's going to be interpreted, and that's how it's going to be enacted. So
exactly,
that's why I've always had issues with that. I'm like, if a man believes that, how can he possibly be a decent husband if you're believing that me as an adult woman should be beaten if you can't force your will on me? That's not a sign of spiritual growth and ascension in my book. So this is a global thing we have to deal with, because a lot of women also believe it. This can't continue unless we teach it to our sons and allow our sons to observe us being beaten.
Yeah.
When we do that, we're saying it's okay. Oh, I should have been more submissive. So this is a whole different way of thinking that we have to change in the women.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Dr.
So you said little boys are growing up in this environment where they're seeing their mothers being beaten, and then their mothers are saying to them that it's my fault.
Yes. Yeah, you're supposed to take responsibility for being beaten. So I've seen that happen. I have had friends who have been abused by their husbands, and they will say, "Oh, well, I shouldn't have said so and so. Oh, well, it's my fault." I mean, they've been mentally beat into submission.
I was there. I have been there, so I can relate. Yeah.
So you managed to get out of that. You managed to get out of that situation. And I think that's brilliant, because it took a lot of courage, I think, to do what you did. And then you decide to help others as well.
Yes, that does take some courage. So, Zhana, I would like to ask Dr. Debbie a question about how you get out of that state of mind, how maybe she helps people get out of that state of mind where they have accepted abuse and taken the blame for it. So, Dr. Debbie, how do you assess this situation when someone has, whether because of culture or tradition or whatever, accepted the idea that they deserved to be beaten, and they don't have within them the will to fight back? How do you help in that situation?
Well, one must understand that anytime there is domestic or family violence present, there is a change of thinking. There's a change of feeling. There's a change of sensitivity in that environment, period, which means the human factor is not taken seriously anymore. Life is not taken seriously. The person that's actually the batterer, has a what they call a narcissistic mindset. Narcissistic mindset, which means that that person has a major control issue. It is a actual diagnosis to be narcissistic. They want the control on every level of control, and they take pride to a whole nother level. A whole nother level. You're not just prideful. Now you are straight dominant. There's a dominating factor in there. You are not sensitive to anyone else's needs. You are just only a taker. You're not, again, there's no human factor. There's no sensitivity at all to the pain that you are putting out, and also the pain that that person, the battery, is receiving. If you notice, if Miss Mercy, if I can definitely call you Miss Mercy, your name is not Mercy for no reason, but I'm going to go into that in just a moment. But I need to make this wonderful point. When it came to you as the victim, remember, okay, you were not asked to be into this marriage. You were between two what they call pillars. Your father was here, the man was here. Okay, you were in between two pillars. And when you are in between two pillars, being of a child mindset, a child mindset, a child mindset says, well, okay, I'm going to do what my father tells me to do. That's the child mindset. Even though I don't understand what I'm getting into, but I trust him as my father, because my mother, like you said, nature, nurture, innate was not present. So you didn't get a female point of view on that. You only was in a child point of view, doing what your father expected you, not knowing what you're about to go into. You went in totally blind to this area. Okay, fast forward.
Dr. Beverly, I've got a question.
Hold that thought, please.
How to get out of that mindset.
I know, I understand that. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, because I have to explain this. We're gonna go there. Only gonna take me less than 5 minutes to say what I have to say. So what I'm saying is, fast forward, you, and again, still between the two pillars. You're still listening to father. Now you're listening to this other person. You see what I'm saying? And you think that, now you what they call a victim mindset. Okay? A victim mindset cannot look for escape. They don't see any other, they're in a tunnel. They don't see any, even though pain is there, even though ridicule is there, even though, physical, mental, emotional pain is there, you still didn't look for a way out. And the only reason why you didn't, because there wasn't another factor involved. So here comes the baby, right? Here comes the baby. Now, when you saw that the baby was in danger, it took your mind off of you. You understand? And you had to do something what is called self-rescue. Self-rescue takes you out of the victim mindset and puts you in a mode of self-rescue. Self-rescue, I have to remove myself at all costs, even if I have to lose my life to get out of this for my children. Because when he hit you, he then hit the child. At that point, you had to make a very, very quick decision. You didn't have time to sit there and be a victim anymore. Your mind went into rescue mode. And that's what happens to victims. That's what happens to people when they get to a point when there's another offset of victim mentality option, because that's what it is. It's an offset. Now, even though, Ms. Mercy, some people still stay in the victim mode, even with children. So what's the difference there? It's because they're still caught into that victim mindset. You had an option and you took the way out. You had an option. You had an option to do something totally different. And that is because of what is happening right now. Because, all of the pain you went through, it was not in vain. It happened right now. It is for this wonderful move of God that you're doing. So, again, to answer to answer a question, when one shifts out of victim mentality, that means your environment, your feelings, your thoughts are no longer your own. Then no, you don't value those anymore. So which means you don't lean into them and allow them to keep happening. You go into self-rescue mode. That means you get out of the victim mentality and you're going to escape any type of way you can. It doesn't matter how it is. Some batteries even will kill their predator. They will even kill the batterer because they think they got to take that person off the earth because the fear is so immense. Fear is the only thing that keeps a person in a place, is fear. So she moved beyond fear. She had to even though she was afraid, even though she still felt it, she didn't allow it to control her mind. And see, when you don't allow it to control your mind, you mean you get out of your impulses.
Allow your fear to control your mind.
Exactly. You get out of your impulses. The impulsive mind will be stayed in the victim mind. You get out of your impulses and you start logically, rationally, reasonably thinking of a plan to get out. That's what that means.
So now I guess I have a question then for Miss Mercy. What was that breaking point for you where you just said, that's it, I'm not taking anymore. I don't care what my father says. I don't care if I'm the first one to get divorced. I don't care if I'm bringing shame on the family. I'm leaving. What was the incident that was the breaking point for you?
So the breaking point for me was in 3 years before I left, actually. So I had left my soul, my spirit 3 years before I physically left because I had to make an exit plan. So in that year, I had a surgery. It was a bilateral cyst. The cyst was so big that it couldn't be pulled out. They had to, what they called like suction out the fluid. And I filled like 2 little buckets before they could take out the cyst.
Ooh.
The doctors kept asking, even the nurses, anyone that comes into my ward, they will ask me, do you have kids? I'm like, 2 boys. Oh, thank God. So it was clear that I might not have kids or I might not survive or anything could go wrong. Even the doctors were plain in saying, no, you have a 50-50 chance to survive this surgery. That is how bad it was.
Wow.
And thankfully, thanks to God, I had the surgery. I survived. I was okay. I came home. I was still home. You know how it is, you have a surgery. It's not like you're going to be in hospital until you're properly healed and fit and all that. I still had my the stitches on, and I still had the plaster and everything. So the surgery point was, because it's not like all the laser surgery they have now. They actually cut me open from my navel to my vagina point, so it was a very big cut.
Wow.
So I still had the dressing on, the stitch and all that, and they said, oh, I'll come like a week to take out the stitches and all that. So in the time I was recovering at home, I was just lying down as usual, like every other person who has had a major life-threatening surgery would be recovering.
Yeah.
And he came in and said he's looking for his phone. Then cell phones had come out, and I didn't even have. He was the only one that had a cell phone. He bought this Nokia, the first Nokia camera phone, and he said he was looking for the phone. And I just said, oh, I don't know where it is. And I continued lying down. And he said, I'm too lazy to look for his phone, that he's looking for his phone. And I didn't even make any effort to look for the phone. And I'm lying down telling him, I'm too busy to look for the phone. And that's how he started beating me with my surgery, stitches, and with everything we went through. Even him himself went through a lot while I was in hospital. He lost so much weight, so much so that when people come to see us, they'll be like, who is ill? You or your wife? Because you've lost so much weight. It was really traumatic for all of us. And he went through a lot as well. So I was thinking that would be a turning point for us, and maybe the way he was, showering me with attention and all of that, that things would change for us. And that, when somebody has been through like a near life situation and comes back, how you like kind of pamper the person. So I was expecting that things would be better. Like, since I didn't die from all of this, that maybe things will be better. But he went ahead and hit me on that day because he was looking for his phone. And the beating was bad. It affected my stitches. And that was the day I said, even if I have to beg on the streets of Lagos, I'm done with this marriage. I said it to myself that day. And I even told him that I don't even love him. I don't have any love for him. And then he kept telling everybody that I said I don't love him. And people come to me and I know you didn't mean it. I'm like, no, I actually mean it. That I'm done, you know. But of course, I didn't have the resources to leave immediately. So I still stayed back and did something in my country called the National Youth Service Corps. So something you do after your university graduation so that you can get a job is a government requirement for every graduate. So I did that 1 year and then started looking for a job until I got the job. And when I got the job, I just, although it wasn't like I just picked up my bag and left, he actually hit me on that day. And, you know, I was actually waiting for, for an excuse. Wow. So after he hit me on that October 19th, he locked me up for 3 days. So I was locked up. Nobody could find me. Nobody could have access to me. And I just got a new job. And I've only just done 2 weeks, and then my office was calling. People were looking for me, you know. So after 3 days, he released me and said, since you want to go, go. I've been begging for 3 days, and you don't want to give in. You're still angry. You want to go, go. And that's how I picked up my handbag with a slippers, a flip-flop, and I ran for my dear life. He was the one who brought a few of my things and dumped at my dad's gate eventually. So that was how I actually left. I had left 3 years before then. The breaking point for me was the beating I got after the surgery because of a cell phone. So I just told myself, your life doesn't mean anything to this man. The cell phone is even more valuable, more important, because I just came off a surgery. I nearly died, and you still have the mind to beat me up because of a cell phone. So I just realized that, you know what, my life doesn't mean anything to this guy. And I know I was going to die someday if I don't live real quick.
You know, that would have ended in a fatality. So we have a caller on the line, Zhana. You open the mic for area code 336. I believe we got Mama AZ on the line, calling from Arizona, that would like to speak to our guest.
I have a question I would like to ask Blessy. I just, you know, I have a comment. This really disturbs me that much, and I thought I had gotten this out of my system. You know, back in the day, I've only had 2 husbands that were civilian. I just refused to date civilian people or marry civilian people. And it goes back to here in Tucson when I was stopped way back in the day by some African gentlemen, gentlemen. They were in the military stationed here at Davis Mountain Air Force Base. And I lived in Phoenix family at the time. And sometimes I would wake up and find somebody out there. When I found out who it was, any of the brothers that I had met at the base were stalking me. And I cried because my friend and my roommate, when I was living in San Diego, she met a sailor. We were stationed at 32nd Street Base, the naval base. And she happened to fall in love with this guy from Africa, and she went, and she happened to be Caucasian. And when she got back, she told me horrific story about the abuse of the women over there. And she said, Robbie, you think your people are mean over here to women? You just don't know how bad it is over there. This was in 1977, family. And I had other issues that I don't even want to get into with African men in the military. But there's a gentleman who works here at this facility. he's African or whatever, a nurse, and it got so bad. When he changed my ID, it was bloody, and he argued and screamed at me. And I called the head nurse. I said, "You get that some situation in my room, because I am going to." Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I didn't mean to say that.
It just came out.
Kill him.
That was from your heart.
Kill him. And you cannot abuse me. And he would come back and argue with me about the ID. And it just triggered something. It's just like this show. I don't know that the men there, I only dated military. Or, I believe that they are meaner for some reason. And there is a reason. What's the reason? We're going to talk about that. Yeah, the break. But yeah, I've got 2 more callers on the line, and I want to make sure you stay on the line, please, because I've got some thoughts about that. Okay, can I talk to?
Yeah, well, hold on now, Zhana. We're going to take this break, and then we come back. And 727, if you have a comment, you can take it after the break. And 779 after the break. We'll be right back, and we'll talk about. I don't know.
We got some thoughts about this.
Yes, our African men meaner.
So let's go to a break, and then after that, we're going to talk about this some more. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we will be right back after this quick break. So we want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution. Monday, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit ZeldaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moments tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. We'll make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening. Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're and press 1 to speak. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shinsu Kim of the HWPI Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-5885 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And today is Success Strategies with Zhana. We're talking about escaping from domestic violence. And our guest today is Miss Mercy McKenday, who is founder of that wonderful organization, Amazing Amazon Initiatives, to help women escape domestic violence. So before the break, the question was asked about the
code 727. Welcome to the show. What's your name? Thank you very much. This is Martha Nyla Abdullah calling from St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm so happy to have you. Welcome. And thank you to Naima too, and everyone else who's listening. My question is, and I feel so like it's on a level of not even matching up to almost not want to even mention it, because here in America, I guess there's a lot of closet situations where you know domestic violence, but to be able to measure, I know we say everything signed or something's given, but how do you? Where do you? I guess my question is, where do you draw the line? Is it in an impulsive, erratic behavior that happens ever so often? Or is it the first moment that there's a complaint attached to verbal abusive language? I'm trying to, speaking with young girls and young men, but young girls primarily, of where to break the cord. Right. So, what do we actually define domestic violence as? What's the definition, and how do we tell when it's violence, when it's domestic violence? Do you have any thoughts about that, Marcy?
Okay, so please, can you recap the question, because I didn't hear her clearly?
Well, she kind of was saying, where do you identify that you are being abused? Is it the first time somebody's verbally abusive, maybe calling you names, or is the first hit? How does a woman understand when your supposed loved one has crossed the line and is disrespecting you, and you are being abused? And I think that's probably a question a whole lot of women need to understand. What is
fantastic?
What is not acceptable? So what is the thing that labels it as abuse?
Okay, so what I usually tell women, particularly single women, I usually tell them, you don't wait for it to happen to you. If he's hitting his younger sister, his sibling, he's going to hit you. If he has road rage, if he's in the car and something happens and he comes down and he's shouting, yelling, he's going to hit you. So the red flags are always there. But sometimes we ignore and tend to think, oh, I'm the apple of his eye, so he's never going to hit me. It doesn't happen that way. It's an organic behavior. So an abusive person will always abuse someone else. They don't just abuse their wives or their girlfriends or their loved ones. You would always see the tendency. They have a short fuse. They're aggressive with their friends. Even if they're watching football and somebody is supporting one team against them, you would see from their reaction. And what if you're already in the relationship and you didn't realize he was abusive? Again, I always say, violence is, when we say domestic violence, it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's verbal, it's sexual, it's social, it's spiritual, it's economical or financial. If it deprives you of money from letting you grow financially, doesn't want you to have financial independence, he has abused you. That's domestic violence. If he doesn't allow you to associate with the people you want to associate, and he decides to pick your friends and tell you, I don't want to see you with this person, I don't want to see you with that person, that's domestic violence. It's called social abuse. If he decides to pick your religion and say, I don't want you to go to this church, I want you to become this religion or that religion. That's a spiritual abuse. It is a form of domestic violence.
Hold on a
So
second.
all of these things
Hold on a second.
come into play. So you don't have to wait for a punch or for him to use a dining chair to hit your head before you know that you're being abused. The signs are there and they manifest in different forms. It's an octopus. It comes in different forms. So it could be sexual abuse. You don't want to have sex. He wants to have sex and he's telling you, I don't care if you have any headache or I don't care if you're tired. Come on here, open your legs. That's sexual abuse. That's rape. That's marital rape right there.
Wow.
So I don't want you to work. I don't want you to have your own money. That's financial abuse. Right there. And then he's calling you names because the first punch is not just going to come as a punch. It will start by a yell. It's the next thing will be name calling. You're stupid. You must be crazy before that punch comes. So it's one thing is step by step before you get the eventual punch or slap. That's how the domestic violence grows. That's how physical attack comes. And some men don't even hit at all, but they abuse you emotionally and reduce you to absolutely nothing, that you would see yourself as nothing. You can't even function. You would even think a tissue paper is more valuable than you. And he has not hit you yet, but he's abusing you emotionally and verbally. And that's going to affect you mentally and psychologically.
Absolutely.
And that's even the worst form of abuse, if you ask me.
Psychological.
So it is not, so it's not even the slap or the hit that you have to wait for. The moment you start seeing all of these things I've mentioned, you're going through domestic violence.
Well, Zhana, we've got another host joining us here live on Facebook. Let us bring in our sister of the microphone, Zelda Speaks, our Monday morning mindfulness host. Thank you for joining us. We're all sitting here horrified. Yes, thank you so much, and thank you, Martha Nyla, for that question. I think a lot of women are abused and don't know it because society.
They're waiting for the punch.
Yes.
They need to know it, and men need it as well. They need to know when they are stepping over the line. They need to stop it.
Well, I guess that brings another question you raised, Zhana. Do laws support certain abusive behavior? Like sounds like the law in Nigeria supports the idea of a man being able to beat his wife. I know that there are some very strict laws against abuse here, but also now I'll tell you quickly about my experience when I was teaching parenting classes to women who had been jailed in Cook County Jail, and they had lost their children to the Department of Children and Family Services. So their children were somewhere in foster care because they were serving time. They were in jail, and so what I had to do was help them pass a parenting class and get a certificate so that they could get their children back. Well, in each session, when I would start the sessions, I would ask them, we talk and we ask them what had happened, the reason why they lost their children. And there was one woman, and she was the cutest little thing, hair done up all nice and everything. And we're having this discussion, and she was saying, well, the courts won't let me see my children. They won't let me talk to them. And, they won't let me communicate with them at all. And I'm getting indignant. I'm saying, well, that's not right. How come they're doing that? How come they won't let you see your children? And she said just as calmly, because I killed their father.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh. And then she said, well, I just got tired. She said this. She said, I just got tired of him beating me. And
that's what I was telling you. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, so why are you in jail and he's free and they won't let you see your children? But what else were you supposed to do to make him stop? So that's my question, I guess. Do our laws really support women who have to fight back or want it to stop? And they know it's going to be either my life or his. I don't know. Ladies, do you think this?
Stand your ground in the States. But do you remember the story a couple years ago about the woman who shot her ceiling? She pointed her gun at the ceiling and she shot the ceiling, and she ended up putting in prison.
I remember that.
Shooting the ceiling, remember that?
I remember that. Yes, I remember that. And I was upset then. So I think we have to make some major changes in the way we raise our sons so that they have human compassion. That's what seems to be missing. I think Dr. Debbie was saying that they don't see you as a human being.
Upset about something, you need to learn how to express it. And a lot of times we tell male children not to express their feelings. Keep it to yourself. Just push it down, push it down, push it down till you can't feel it anymore. Which is kind of the opposite of what they need to be doing.
So, Miss Mercy, I think that does have a lot to do with how we raise our children. So would you say that, and I'm not asking this to Miss Mercy because, of course, you know, experiencing Nigerian culture, would you say that the men are not allowed to express emotions in a healthy way? The only emotion they're allowed to express is anger? Is that what you've observed?
Yeah, because the saying that, oh, you need to be a man, you need to boss up, you need to man up, it's a big thing in Africa. So men are not allowed to express emotion. Men are not, you're not supposed to be having a conversation to say nicely, oh babe, I don't like that thing you did. Oh, I don't like that. You're supposed to be bossy about it. And this attitude is not even just in husband-wife relationship, even in offices, at workplace. You're supposed to talk down on your staff. They should tremble when they see you walking like through the door. Like, yes, the boss is here. So that's the culture that we have back in Africa, and I don't know if any other part of the world, experiences this kind of thing. So, and like I said before, we live in a very, very patriarchal society in Africa. The man is just to go out there, work hard, bring the money, and then the woman is supposed to be home, take care of the children and all that. So it takes a lot to it's beginning to happen. With the advent of social media and the internet, and there's a lot of awareness. So men are beginning to do better. So yes, we have the responsibility of raising our sons better, raising them right so that they don't turn out like the older generation. But for me, I also feel that, and that's why my NGO, my charity is focused on women. I feel that even our daughters, we also need to raise them right. And we shouldn't do to our daughters now what our parents did to us back then. When I say our parents, I mean generally, not just me.
Yes.
So, for example, we have this thing about when are you going to get married? They start to pressure the girl. Oh, you're 20 now. You should be looking for a husband. You're 25. Where is the husband? You're 30. Oh my God, you're not married. And then at the end of the day, they just settle for anybody just to be a Mrs. Somebody. And what happens? They get into the relationship. They're suffering abuse of any form that I've just mentioned. And they just believe that it's better for me to stay Mrs. Somebody. I need to be married than to walk out of this abusive relationship. And in most cases, they're taken out in a body bag because they want to stay married. I just have to be married. And that is because of the way they have been conditioned. Sometimes I say it most times when I'm speaking, I actually say that most of us are guilty because you have a friend who is 35 and like, babe, how far? No guy yet. What's going on? That's subtle pressure.
Yes.
You're pressuring your friend subtly because you are married. You expect her to be married, and then she doesn't find somebody. The next guy that says hello, she's going to the altar just so that the pressure stops. So we are all guilty in one way or the other. Yes. And the way we're raising our daughter, you need to be these so that you can get a good husband. That's all we tell our daughters. You need to know how to cook so that you can get a good husband. So we condition them to believe that marriage is the ultimate goal for being a girl child. Your education doesn't matter. And that's why all of us spend so much money on our children's wedding day more than on our children's graduation day. Woo. You would see people will close the street because their daughters are getting married. We'll invite all our friends. How many people do you invite to their graduation? Wow. How many graduation do you celebrate? Graduation from primary to secondary? Do you carry? Is it as weighty as the way you carry their engagements and their weddings and their marriages? These are the issues. These are the subtle issues. We groom the girl child to believe that everything you do, I don't care the degree you have, the most important thing, your destination in life is that man's house.
Wow.
And that's why women sit and take this abuse. Sometimes even the way we raise them, we have a girl child, we have a boy child. What do we buy for the girl child? A baby doll, a Barbie doll. We buy the
trucks and
technical stuff, the trucks, the airplane for the boy, because we feel he's macho. He should be able to do this. You have a girl in the house. Oh, come and join me in the kitchen. You have the son. Oh, he's watching cartoon, and that's fine. This is where it all starts.
Wow.
In the way we raise them to believe that you are domesticated, you're not good for anything else. You're just going to be in the kitchen. We're going to nurture us in this house. And when you finish here, you're going to nurture your husband and your children. And we grew up thinking that that's where we're headed until we change the narratives, until we begin to raise our kids differently and let them know that they are valuable on their own.
Yes.
You can be a doctor, engineer, whatever, a hairstylist, a caterer, a baker. You can be anything, and you're fulfilled without being a Mrs. Somebody. And if you have someone to be a Mrs. Somebody, oh, well and good, fantastic, beautiful. When we let our daughters understand that, this pressure to stay married would eventually evaporate. So when they find themselves in an abusive relationship, they can boldly and courageously take a walk. It's because the men know that these women will not leave. I've counseled different families, spoken to different husbands, and they will tell me to my face that no matter what you say, my wife cannot leave me. Because if she leaves me, that's the end of her life. This is the woman suffering abuse. But the husband will confidently tell you, my wife is not going anywhere. She can't leave me because her life will end without me.
Wow.
And that's what my ex used to tell me too, that you can't survive without me. And I told him something. I told him, you will read about me in the papers. And to the glory of God, that is happening now.
Wow. Well, all right. And now she is here on the Female Solution Global Radio Show. Yes. Yes. So, Zhana.
One more caller on the line. Let's just see who's on the line. Right, always so that my keyboard starts playing up. Here we go. Okay. Caller from 309. No, sorry. Caller from 727.
I think we just had that was Martha Nyla. We just heard from her.
Oh, that was Martha. Okay. Thank you for that call, Martha. So, can you tell me, were there obstacles in you setting up your charity blessing? I mean, not blessing. Sorry, mercy. My mind is somewhere else today.
Yeah, but I think I heard you. I think she said, what's the obstacle in setting up the charity, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
what was
as you would expect, I was already labeled. Oh, she's a divorcee. Oh, she left her husband. Oh, she's this and she's that. So she wants other women to be like her. She's trying to gather a group of divorcees. So the stigmatization and victimization was the first obstacle.
Was it coming from men or women or both?
Both.
Wow.
And the sad part is that it's even more from women, actually. Wow. And that's why I always say that sometimes the things that women suffer, the women themselves bring it harder on fellow women. Domestic violence. It is the women that will stigmatize you. Your divorce, it doesn't stop your male friends from being your friends. But your female friends will be the ones to stop talking to you because you're divorced. Wow. So that you don't come and take their own husband. That's usually the case. Like, oh yeah. So now she's divorced. I don't want her around me so that she doesn't come and take my own husband. You would find that with a lot of women. And then it's the women that would gossip. They are the ones that would talk about it. Why did it happen? Maybe she did this, maybe. So they're the ones that will always talk about it. So I kind of believe that really most of the stigmatization comes from women most of the time. And then another problem we had, apart from stigmatization, women weren't opening up because they're hush-hush about these things. They couldn't find their voices. And that's why I would jump on a show like this anytime, any day, not just for publicity, but because there's a woman out there who would hear me today. And she would say to herself, if Mercy can cross that line of freedom and share her story unashamedly, I can do the same. So me sharing my story gives some people the courage and the mind to like, okay, if Mercy can share it, I can share it too. So me coming up open to the world and sharing my story every day helps a lot of women also open up to share their story so that people can begin to see that this is really a problem. It didn't just happen to Mercy, and Mercy was not unlucky, or she's not a child of the devil, and that's why it happened to her. These are real, because I mean, those are some of the things that people will say when you know, maybe her bad life that she lived as a youth is coming after her now. It's karma. That's why she's having, you know, all kinds of things you would hear, and you'll be thinking, are these guys in their right senses? So me sharing my story also helps a lot of women come out to share their stories. That's how I was able to break that obstacle. Another obstacle is that these women, because they're not financially empowered. Most times when they leave the marriages, they don't have home, like a shelter, they don't have food, they can't take care of their children. And I was doing this thing, funding, I mean, with my personal funding, I didn't get funding from any organization till date. I've not had any funding from any organization. So that was really challenging as well, helping these women, I mean, catering to their needs. And that is why my NGO, rather than only talking to them and preferring psychosocial assistance, we focus on empowering them. So I don't give them fish, I teach them how to fish. And that's how the entrepreneurship angle of my work came in. So I started teaching these women how to do certain things to help them raise funds, particularly skills for free. I teach them skills, how to make hair, like braids like this, how to make handbags, shoes, soap, bake, cook, so they can start their own small businesses so they can make money. So that's majorly the work I do, teaching women how to be financially independent. Because I mean, if I had my own money, I'm not sure I would have stayed 11 years. I stayed 11 years because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have any money. My dad had said, you can't come back to my house. So where will I go from there? So I had to stay until I'm able to make money before I could leave. And I know that once some of those women start to make money, they won't even think twice before they leave. And that's why I focus on empowering them financially by teaching them free skills and helping them set up businesses.
Well, I'm thinking that we're going to find a way that the Female Solution can be a regular supporter of your organization, because we have to make a statement that we're changing the way we relate to each other as women. We have to stop stigmatizing each other. Like you said, stop pressuring girls to feel like they got to get married and they get master's and doctor's degrees and everything. And we're saying, oh yeah, but that doesn't matter. But are you married yet? And a lot of young women have said that they're going through that with their families right now. Is that, I mean, they've got all these achievements, but they don't have a husband, and they're being made to feel like they're a failure in life because they're still single and they're in their 30s, So we've
had situations where we have young girls hire a man to go with them for Thanksgiving, or they hire a man to go with them for Christmas, just because everybody will be there and asking them, where is your boyfriend, where is your fiancé? So women go out of their way to hire men to go for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It shouldn't be. That kind of girl will jump into any marriage and will stay put until she's taken out in the body bag just because of pressure from family.
That's sad.
Well, I agree with you too. I think it's a very creative solution to get your family off your back for a little while, isn't it?
Well, you know what has to happen? We have to resist. We have to stop letting our families make us feel bad. I mean, that does shut people up, but what is it? What are you saying to yourself? I am not strong enough to stand on my own and be respected for the choice that I have made to be single until I find someone who is
right. Yeah.
And if I don't, that's okay too. I'm still successful even if I never marry. That has to be something we decide on the inside. Marriage does not make me a successful woman. If I find that soulmate, that life partner, that's good. If I don't in this lifetime, that's still good. We have to change that cultural behavior. That has to happen inside of us. Yes. Yes. I think that is important. And
the person that asked a little while ago, all men in Africa, Mina, I was at this really, really interesting presentation. I think it was last week, and it was the leopards, following the leopard. Let me just see. I want to get it exactly right. But this lady has written a book about what happened in Kenya, because what the British did to people, the way they tortured uprising, and she started out by saying her father was very, very violent. Her father was very, very violent to her mother, and she was saying that because of the trauma that people went through. Colonization, because the thing is, a lot of this stuff we don't even know. We don't even know what really happened. And the people in Kenya, I found out a few years ago, they signed a treaty, right? The Kenyans actually signed a treaty saying they would not teach the history. Right? The British made this, when the British So obviously, there's a lot of people who've been growing up in Kenya over the past, I don't know, 50 years, something like that, since the British left. There's a lot of people who grew up not even knowing
what happened.
Now, there's people who've grown up in Kenya who have no idea about what happened and what the British actually did to people. And, she was saying, she didn't understand why her father was so violent until she started finding out what the British had done to people. And, some of the things that she was discovering were just horrific, and I can't even talk about them. So some of them are just too unbelievably horrendous to even talk about. But, the thing is, if there is a problem with violence in a particular community, there's reason for that. It's not like people are just so violent by nature. I mean, I think we all know that probably on this call.
Right. Something happened.
Black people are just violent by nature. African people are just violent by nature. But there are actually historical reasons why certain behaviors, which are very behaviors, have become in some ways the norm. Because if you go through terrible, terrible trauma and you never get any healing for that, then, what's going to be the outcome of that? And that, just like in the States and in Britain, we talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome. The same thing happened in Africa to a certain extent. That people went through this horrendous trauma and they never had an opportunity for healing. And as a result of that, there are these toxic behaviors sometimes. Do you have any thoughts about that? Mercy, do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you do?
Well, Zhana, we got to take our last break, and when we come back, I think that's something to take a look at. Are we still dealing with post-traumatic slave syndrome? But Asian women and European women are also Asian women and European women are also are facing domestic violence, like the statistics that Mercy gave earlier. I mean, was it 1 out of every 4 women or 1 out of every 3 women globally?
80%, yeah.
So but we'll talk about that when we come back from this last break. Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
I always think the black people are the worst, and I love the toxic passion that was mine. But, sometimes Asian people can be terribly, terribly cruel to their own children. And
yes.
If you grow up experiencing that and seeing that, witnessing that, it affects you. It affects what you grow up in a household where there's a lot of violence. You grow up thinking that is normal. That's why I keep saying it's not just words and information.
Right. You're right. So we'll be right back after this quick break. That was somebody's. Yeah, we'll be right back after this quick break. Yeah, somebody something on somebody's phone or something. But anyway, we'll be right back after this last break. So stay with us.
What happens when a group of people are kidnapped from their homes, smuggled away in chains, and held captive in a foreign land where they are tortured, raped, and forced to perform hard labor by the lash of a whip and under the constant threat of death? Slavery, the African American psychic trauma. What happened to the doctors, writers, scientists, builders, educators, and spiritual leaders from Africa's golden age? Who did they really capture and sell into slavery? Are all African Americans suffering from psychic trauma because of a conspiracy to hide their true identities? Do you have psychic trauma? Take the test on page 22 of the book and see. Or it online today at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. And get your personally autographed copy of the book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Care with Jody Fusan. Wednesdays, Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Zhana. Second Saturday, Inspire on Relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Mondays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comments 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
Yeah, rainbow coming.
Years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant. Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Even as every day and learn about self-care and lots of radio shows. Learn how to help your body and yourself feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jody Susan. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9381 to speak. We'll help you.
And we are back. Somebody's.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's what your book is about. How to recover from post-traumatic slave syndrome. Is that right?
That's right.
You agree with me?
Yes, absolutely. Well, then, in the book Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma, we do talk about how our relationships are affected by coming out of being emotionally abused and physically abused. We talk about how our child rearing is affected by that, the extreme violence with which we raise our children, those slave beatings. We talk about that.
That it's because of slavery, and I still think that now, it's because of slavery, we have inherited these toxic ways of relating to each other, and romantic relationships, and family relationships between parents and children, and it will never stop until we heal it. We have to heal it. We're carrying this up for generations now. So we have to heal it. But you see, well, I didn't realize until I saw this presentation the other day, I haven't got my head around this yet, but how much that's still going on now in Africa. With everything to do with studying and ways our parents and our ancestors had to do child care in order to stop us from being killed. Because, the parent would beat the what's out of the child.
Right. Pardon me a moment, Zhana. We're getting some sounds coming through that kind of distracting. Is there someone almost like crumbling sound or something? I'm not sure. Is there? And Mercy, your light is. I don't know if you need a little more light on your. You need to turn some light on your face.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can see your beautiful face.
Okay, just one second. I need to get up to put on the light. Is that okay?
That's fine. Yes.
Okay.
No problem. That's why I keep remembering that it's evening where they are. So the sun.
Yeah.
I had to remember they're 6 hours ahead. So whereas Dr. Debbie has this light coming in her window, you all are near sunset. It's almost 8 o'clock there. Yeah. So yeah, that's much better. But you made a good point. Now, I have a question, and it's something that comes up often as I speak to people who are from various African nations. There had to have been a level of cruelty between us already happening, which is how we ended up being prisoners of war, being sold to Europeans and other people. But the fact is, there was already a system of degrading certain family groups. Matter of fact, I had a friend from Nigeria, was kind of explaining, okay, well, the weaker tribes got enslaved by the stronger tribes. So there was already kind of a meanness going on between us anyway. So we can't really blame this on white people and in slavery.
That we have to overcome. We're always talking about living in a peaceful world. We talk about that pretty much a lot, but how can we create a peaceful world?
Right.
And what the Buddha taught was that we have these negative, destructive instincts inside of us, but we can overcome them. It takes a lot of work and effort, but it's possible to do it, and many people have done it. So it's not impossible, but I believe there's probably cruelty in every society to a certain extent. But what was really interesting, there was this drop. The name of this book is called Through the Leopard's Gaze.
Through the Leopard's Gaze.
And the author was talking about what she done. And some of the cruelty that she described that was inflicted on people in Kenya, and remember that it wasn't just Kenya, right? But some of the cruelty that she described is just beyond belief. It's just beyond shocking. It really is. And this is what was done to people by the Europeans, by the British, when they were in Africa. And they didn't just do it in Kenya, but we tend to have this information specifically to do with Kenya. And for many, many years, the Crown said, no, you can't sue us. You can't sue the Crown because you have no evidence. And then a few years ago, this evidence turned up. Somebody just decided to come clean. Because the British actually documented everything. The same way that the Nazis did. They documented everything, right? All the news, all the places, all the dates, right? Where they held people, where they tortured people, what they did to them. They documented it all, but it somehow disappeared. But some turned up a few years ago. So now the Kenyans have just sued the Crown, and from what I'm told, they won. I believe they won their case. Because these people committed incredible atrocities against African people, and it went on for many, many years. I think largely because they are afraid of African people. They were afraid that African people were going to rebel. And when African people did finally rebel, they had to do everything to try to ensure that it wouldn't happen again. So it's just unbelievable cruelty sometimes. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but if you want to know more, if you go into London Black History walks, if it's not on there now, it will be on there within the next couple of days, probably. It's called Through the Leopard's Gaze, and the whole thing was taped. The whole thing was recorded, so, you might want to have a look at that, and, you're definitely going to learn something. It's not a nice thing, but it is our history, and I believe that knowledge is power. That's my personal belief.
Well, Zhana.
So although it is horrendously disturbing that they do to people, I think we need to know that. Anytime someone's trying to suppress knowledge and prevent it from getting out, that's when I start taking an interest. That's when I start becoming curious. You get me?
Absolutely. Well, Zhana, I got just a quick point, and then I know Dr. Debbie's got to leave us in a moment, and maybe the last statement. But without all the things that we went through with Europeans, they were doing that to each other before they even got involved with Africans. They were cruel to their children. They were beating, public floggings. So they just basically they found another scapegoat outside themselves, but they were just as cruel to each other.
If you read France Fanon, Wretched of the Earth,
yes.
The fact that to Europeans, we represent the shadow self. So everything that they dislike about themselves and fear about themselves, they have projected onto us.
Right. So now I have a thought to throw out there, because it seems like there's something inside people that makes them want to abuse somebody who seems weaker, which seems to be where this abuse of women comes from. We get to be targeted because we are physically weaker. And then you have all these cultures that support the idea of women being beaten, oppressed, suppressed, owned, controlled. It really is a global thing. And so how do we unlearn that? How do we what? So I mean, yeah, yes. And then Dr. Debbie, maybe you can before you go, because she's got to leave in a moment. Maybe you have a thought on how do we unlearn the philosophy of bullying, because that's what it actually is, that you should be able to be mean to someone who cannot fight back. How do we teach a different standard of human treatment so that we don't keep reproducing this patriarchal cruelty toward women that has been manifested globally to females? How do we change it?
Well, Mercy said it earlier. This is not just a society or a nation or a global thing. This is spiritual. Okay, we're dealing with generational curses. This was happening, before the slavery times. This was happening, during the first bloodshed on the land, just because it was between, if you understand the biblical context, it was between two men. But if you remember in the book of Judges, if I can kind of go back to this, and I don't want to separate and not answer your question, but I have to say this. In the book of Judges, if you read that book, there is a domestic violence era in the books of Judges where this woman was dismembered and beaten and sent out throughout the land to make a point. You know what I'm saying? From her captor. But that was like one of many. But what I'm trying to say is this is generational curses, y'all. Y'all know there's a spiritual connotation to this. You know what I'm saying? It is something way beyond our human understanding because it's in the invisible. So that being said, how do we come out of it? Well, first of all, we got to first acknowledge that it's being done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how can you rescue somebody from something that they don't want to be rescued from? You gotta. It's all about education. It's educating them as young as 5 years old what it means for a person to treat you with respect. You know what I'm saying? Early in the game, so that person will grow up only allowing themselves to be treated with dignity and respect. And when that happens, this thing called self-love then is established. Self-discipline, self-boundaries, self-limits to people doing whatever they want to do to that individual. You see what I'm saying? So when that is not something that's done, because we don't do that in society. We don't teach that in schools. We barely teach that in home. We don't tell little Julie, okay, at 5 years old, don't let, just make sure you respect yourself. Don't let anyone talk to you any type of way. Don't let anyone touch you. I mean, we would tell them the predator touch, which means don't go to strangers. Don't go to strangers. Don't let people touch your body. But then you said nothing about the mind. You're not teaching them how to cover their mind. You got to teach them how to cover their mind. You got to teach them how to cover their heart and their spirit early in the game. We don't teach this in school. It's not taught in the churches. It's not taught at home. So guess what? The generational curses live on. And it goes from one bloodline to another bloodline. It gets worse because it gets stronger. You see what I'm saying? It gets stronger.
What I want to know is what you think about it. I mean, I think you raised some very, very important points, Doctor. I would know what you think about all this, Mercy. Have you got thoughts about this at all?
I didn't hear.
Oh, so what you asked her? What does she think about this? What does she think about?
Yeah, do you have any thoughts about this intergenerational, multi-generational problem which we've just been speaking about, and the effect one talk about this from the point of view of someone in Africa. So I'm just wondering, have you thought about it? Have you got any thoughts about this, Mercy? Because you're the expert here, okay? Let's be very clear. You are the expert here. So have you got any thoughts about that?
Yes. I was going to say that unfortunately, women are groomed to be rehabilitation center for badly raised men. And that is how why you keep hearing this phrase. It's a man's world. Men will always be men. Men will always be men.
Yeah.
And they let that sink into your marrow.
Like it can't.
And you know, when something gets into your marrow, it can't come out. If it's on your skin, you can wash it off. But when it seeps into your marrow, it stays there. And that's how we grow up to accept the man, no matter how he is. If he's beating us, if he's abusing us physically or sexually or emotionally, you're supposed to stay. I mean, it's as bad as in Africa. If a man is even messing around, is cheating, for example, and you report to family, church, whoever, they'll ask you, does he come home? And you say yes. Does he give you money for your kids? Yes. Does he eat your food? Yes. What else do you want? A man will always be a man.
Right?
That's the narrative. And that's why, for me, when I say my charity is for women, it's not just until you're 25. I take my work to primary schools and we start to teach them, like Dr. Debbie said, we catch them young. We begin to teach them from when they're little, that you don't just have to accept anything. You're strong. You teach them all those affirmations. You're beautiful. You're powerful. You can rule the world. You're everything.
Yes.
And we also speak to moms. We speak to parents. Don't let the children believe that marriage is the ultimate goal. Whatever you achieve in life doesn't count until where is the husband. So we're trying to change this narrative because, truthfully, we women in Africa, we have become the rehabilitation center for badly raised men. We're supposed to just accept them whichever way they come.
Trust me. I'm not just in Africa. But tell me something. So what happens when you tell that to the parents? How do they respond?
Oh, everybody listens to tell you, oh, good job. Oh, well done. Oh, but they go back home and sometimes they begin to just carry on their normal way because that's what you're used to. So it's one voice you're just like a lone voice in the wilderness. I'm telling them these things I'm sharing here. And then today is Saturday, right? Sunday they go to church. And then the pastor opens 1 Corinthians 11:3. The man is the head of the family. The man is supposed to be submissive to the man. You're supposed, and then so who would they listen to? Are they going to listen to a Mercy that is supposed to be some time in her life a divorcee, fortunate to get married again? Or they're going to listen to the holy man who hears directly from heaven? Get what I mean? So religion has also done a lot of damage.
Bondage.
So whatever, bondage, religion and the culture. And then some of these people, they know what it is. They know that you're actually saying the truth. When I speak to them, they acknowledge that what you're saying is the right thing, Mercy. Mercy, you're telling us the truth. But they go home and they act out what society expects of them, what culture demands of them, what religion and pastors are telling them to do. So there's a conflict. So you can tell them as much as you want, but they will still end up doing who is dragging them more, who is pulling, who is getting the most pull. Is it family? Is it religion? Is it culture? They would eventually succumb to that pull, regardless what you're telling them.
You know what I would say, Zhana? You know what I would say? We have to create a higher standard of human behavior where everybody needs to strive to meet this standard of respect for all life. And what does that respect look like? And it has to be across gender lines, across racial lines, across cultural lines. This is what it means to be a human being. And this is what we teach our children, both male and female children, how to treat other human beings. And no one is any lesser value of anyone else. We must do this. And that is the direct revelation from the Creator will always reinforce love for all, unconditional respect for all, not, this person is female or this person is black or this. All are of one source. We are all
Human
children
excellence.
of
Human
God.
excellence. Human
Yeah.
excellence.
Human excellence must
That's what
be
it is.
for
Yeah.
all human beings. And
Yes.
to be excellent means to treat each other as you would wish to
Yeah,
be treated. I mean,
absolutely. And I think,
followed them.
yeah, I don't mean to cut you, but I just want to add something there quickly before I forget. It even boils down to the religion itself. It's just unfortunate that the modern pastors, or I don't know, maybe the Orthodox pastors, I don't know which one is even more guilty, have decided to take one part of the scripture and use it to oppress the women.
Yes.
In actual sense,
Your heart.
when you look at the Bible holistically, the Bible lets us know that God treasures women. For the first time in the Bible, where the word helper was used, it was used to refer to a woman, telling the woman you are a man's helper. So if the man was whole and complete and such a superman, he would not need a helper. But when God created the woman, he said, you're going to be his helpmate, his helper. And the word used in the Bible to describe helper, the actual Hebrew word, is the same word the Bible used to describe the Holy Spirit.
That's
When Jesus
right.
said, I will send you a helper. So the woman and the helper, the woman and the Holy Spirit are operating on the same frequency, God's own point of view. But you see, we are looking at the human from a human and a logical point of view, and we think he has more muscles and more biceps, so he's superior. If we want to even look at it from a scriptural point of view, from God's own point of view, after God made man, the Bible tells us he looked at him and said, this guy cannot go on all by himself. I need to make him a woman. The woman was created from his bone. He was created from mere dust. Who is the superior version? If we even want to go by that. So the woman is like a woman or a machinery that has a 100,000 what do you call it, maybe megawatts, but we
Yes.
bring ourselves down and start operating as if we can only power something that is 10 megawatts.
Right.
Meanwhile, God has given us the capacity. We don't even understand our own capacity and capability.
Correct.
It even starts with us. We are the problem. Because if we understand our place in God, we would not do some of these things that we do. It is the women, like I said before, that even oppress women the more in Africa. They are the ones that carry out all the widow rights. They are the ones that would gossip about you when you have any relationship issues. They are the ones, even now on the blogs, talking about people whose homes are broken, who is doing this, who is doing that. It's the women creating the harm. And that's because you don't recognize your power. You think your power ends.
Recognize our power.
No woman has ever been celebrated because of her prowess in bed or her skills in the kitchen. No woman in history. But yet we look at ourselves that is where we're supposed to show our expertise. No, God has blessed us beyond those two departments. And we need to begin to recognize our power so that we can teach that to our children. Because if we don't even understand it ourselves, how do we even teach it?
There you go. Well, we got a minute before we have to go. Mercy, please tell us, how do we get in touch with you? Give us your website information, your contact information. How do we get involved if we want to contribute to the amazing
Amazon initiative?
Yes.
Okay, so on Instagram, it's my name, Mercy Makinde, and my user ID is Mercy the Amazon, at Mercy the Amazon. On Facebook, it's still my full name, Mercy Makinde. You find me on Facebook, and the website to the charity is www.theamazingamazon.org. I can type it here in the chat, www.theamazingamazon.org. So you can see our work there. If you go to our Instagram page, you would also see the little things I've been able to do within my capacity as an individual. Amazing Amazon initiative. That's on Instagram.
So, and the website is theamazingamazon.org.
Yeah, that's the website, Instagram. And we're happy to receive any support from anywhere, from anyone who, like Zelda said, she's happy to support the women out there suffering. And like I said, I don't give them fish. I don't just give them money. I teach them how to fish so that they can stand on their own eventually. And on Facebook, I'm Mercy Makinde. So there's so much to be done to help these women to stand on their feet. And we welcome any support, any kind of support. If it's counseling, if it's cash to help with the work, whatever. Donations, clothes, whatever, food, anything you can help with. Because they always have children suffering alongside them.
Well, all right. We will be in touch. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Zhana.
much.
Thank
Fantastic show.
you. I'll be getting in touch with you very soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much
I
for
appreciate it. It
sharing.
was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you so
And
much.
the words, if I can have the to say this before we go, the words of Queen Latifah. Where would all the women in the world be if there were no men? A bunch of fat, happy women.
Yes, we
They
would.
wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
That's
Queen
right.
Latifah said it, I
A
didn't.
bunch of fat, happy women.
I love it. We love men, but we love ourselves more, and we're learning to love
Yeah.
ourselves more by not staying in domestic
Yeah.
violent relationships.
Yeah. Absolutely.
you.
Let's
Absolutely.
learn to love ourselves. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, Zhana. We appreciate it. Every first Saturday, live from London, Zhana brings us some fantastic news. And thank you so much, Miss Mercy McKinley.
Thank you so much. It was an honor being here with all of you.
Thank you, my
Thank
sister.
you.
What city are you in Nigeria, if you can share that?
Where's what?
What city in
In
Nigeria?
Lagos.
In
Lagos.
Lagos. Is that the capital, right?
Yes.
That's
Oh,
the
you're-
commercial capital.
Commercial.
Just like New York is to US. So
Okay.
that's the commercial capital. But we have Abuja, which is your
Okay.
Washington. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what's your name on Instagram again?
Mercy. Sorry, I didn't put that up. Mercy the Amazon.
Mercy. Oh,
Mercy the Amazon is on Instagram.
Yeah.
okay. Mercy. Is that all one word?
Yes, that's the user ID. Mercy the Amazon.
Okay.
No underscore, no dash, no dots.
Okay.
Mhm.
All
Well,
right.
we will
All
definitely
right.
be in touch with you, my sister. Oh, I
Yes.
found that.
All right.
McKinley, women's coach. Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
my sister.
All
Thank
right.
Y'all have a
you.
We don't
blessed
know when we
day.
will see you, but we are going to see you.
Absolutely.
You are coming back.
We're going to figure out how to get to Lagos.
Awesome.
You are coming back.
That would be
We don't know when,
awesome.
we don't know
Bye,
how.
Zelda.
Yeah. Bye,
Bye.
Dr. Debbie.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love this. I can't wait to tell people about it.
Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/The Female Solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to our radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, Sheshe, India, Nandaba, Japan, Arigato, Russia, Spasiba, Germany, Danke, Poland, Dziękuję, France, Merci, Spain, Gracias, Italy, Grazie, Egypt, Shukran, Ghana, Medasi, Nigeria, Eshe, South Africa, Nyabonga, Senegal, Geret, Kenya, Asante, Israel, Toda, Pakistan, Shukriya, Afghanistan, Tashakor, Saudi Arabia, Shukran. Assalam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. And may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.